So I'm really excited to stand before you here today. I wasn't sure if I would ever be here, and frankly, I'm surprised to be here in so many different ways. Partly because, yes, this is the end of my career, but I distinctly remember the beginning, and it wasn't that pretty, I have to tell you. I was 8 years old, and if you can imagine my squat little waddling figure, I was a little bit pudgy then. In my little swimsuit, and I had my first 3 events at a winter swimming. I'd never done competitive swimming before. And I was swimming the 25 backstroke, the 25 fly, my distance event for the day, the 50 free. Yeah, I was terrified, petrified. And I remember, it was my first event, 25 backstroke. I hop in the pool, I start swimming backstroke, and then, I just decide to start swimming freestyle, and that's how I finished, and, DQ. My second one, it was 25 butterfly. You'd think from where I am now, I might be better at that, and I dove in, started doing butterfly kicks, so good, and then I swam freestyle. So, DQ. Yep. And then my last event, it was 50 freestyle. You'd think I'd be good at that point because I'd already done 225 freestyles. And I get in and I start swimming freestyle, which is, a plus because I hadn't done that yet. And I can't remember exactly whether or not I decided to do this or if I just didn't know, but I got out at the other end after 25. So that was the start to my swimming career. And you may see why I might be surprised to be here, and perhaps my parents are as well, particularly my mom, who had to drive me home after that dismal performance. But I'm here, and I kept going, and I think in a lot of ways my mom instilled a love of the sport in me from a young age. And besides that, I was a social swimmer for most of my career and enjoyed talking to my friends at practice, much to the annoyance of many of my coaches, which perhaps is still true. I remember this moment clearly at a pivotal age of age 13. A competitor of mine joked that I was too short to be a swimmer. And I remember that moment clearly, and I will always remember her name. And I think this fueled a growing passion for the sport. So, here I am, proud to be here after a 15-year career. And this speech, to me, represents a culmination of this career, one that clearly had its ups and downs, but one that has defined, our lives thus far. And it is part of a thank you speech. A few made it, thanks to all those who made it possible, because I couldn't be here without you all. And it is also, geez, what happens now? What did all of this mean? What did I and what did we learn from its speech? I've thought about this moment a lot in the past 2 years. Not that it'll make it any better, but my junior year I actually drafted and redrafted this speech, probably close to once a week, which I know I sound crazy right now. But I wasn't so much concerned with the speech itself as what this whole event means. 2 years ago I wondered what I would say on this podium that would legitimize me sticking with the sport for 4 years. I wondered who I would thank and what I would have learned. I wondered how I would encapsulate and end a 15-year career. So the speech became a kind of pseudo-diary entry. Sometimes the timbre of it changed when I had a particularly hard practice. It got a little bit darker. And sometimes it was more energetic after a meet and I was really excited. So the content has changed dramatically after 2 years, during 2 years, and even from this morning, to be honest. But what I've really been asking myself was, how would I look back on my swimming career? What did I learn and why did I do it? And your answers might be different from mine, and that's okay. But I've thought about this a lot, and for me, how many times do you get to scream at the top of your lungs along with 30 other girls and be regarded as completely normal? For instance, take a championship meet. Sometimes the bus ride is a quiet one, headphones are in, everyone is in their own zone. We walk into the pool deck together. With our parkas on, we are an intimidating force of black and crimson. Our hearts beat a little bit faster as we walk onto the pool deck and see the competition for the first time. You look away, you look into your team, you look at your friends circled around you, and you think, trying to calm down your own nerves, that this is where we're strong, this is where we find confidence. From yo baby to animalistic screaming, your heart races faster, you jump up and down, you grab your teammate's shoulder, you scream Harvard on the warpath. Again, how many times in your life is it socially acceptable to scream that you are on the warpath to another group of humans standing 10 feet away from you at the top of your lungs? Here it is not only acceptable, but it's necessary. The first race or relay is always an important one. You watch your teammates jump into the water, ready to christen the pool for the first time. You may not be swimming, but your heart still races. You might even be shaking, as I normally do. And as the final leg of the relay dives into the water, you and your teammates are jumping up and down, yelling for the warrior in the water, trying to transfer your cheering into her arms, her legs, and her heart. This feeling, despite the nerves, or perhaps because of them, is special to me and will remain so. And, perhaps some will find this too glorious a depiction of swimming and its close counterpart, diving. In reality, our sport is made up of what feels like an endless cycle of morning practice, afternoon practice, weights, etc., repeat. And it can be very hard. And, just check me out after 6 a.m. morning practice, it's not particularly glamorous. But amid this gauntlet, there are many moments of joy and happiness. So many more moments of camaraderie and inspiration. And it is in this repetition and this cycle where I've learned so many lessons and grown from those around me. I feel so lucky and grateful to have been a small part of this team and this sport. Standing here, I'm not just Dani Schulkin, lone woman. I represent a countless number of people. Because when we wear a Harvard swimming and diving crest, we not only represent ourselves, but our coaches, our teammates, our trainers, our doctors, our physical therapists, our cheerleaders, our school. Likewise, there are many people who stand before me today. To my indomitable parents, who I continue to be inspired by every day. To my dad, who, despite occasionally cheering for the wrong swimmer, has consistently been my loudest cheerleader in the stands. He may not understand swimming specifics, but he gets my passion for the sport and for the competition. To my mom, who told me countless times that despite how awful or bad I felt before practice, I would always feel better after swimming, and she was always right. Without her wisdom, her insight, and her support, I'd still be that girl who DQ'd in her first meet and wrote off a lifelong swimming career. To Steph, for teaching me how to fight in a race, a lesson which I hold dear to me, and hope to keep even if my races and competitions aren't in the pool. Although don't count me out as a master swimmer just yet. And to my teammates in the senior class, who I love very much, and added a whole new dimension to the sport for me, and have constantly been a source of inspiration for 4 years. I've learned so many things from these people, and from this sport, and from this team. How to follow orders, how to push through adversity, how to deal with interpersonal strife and conflict, how to deal with success, and how to deal with its ever-hovering twin, disappointment, how to lead, and what I treasure, how to laugh at myself, so thanks, Deeds, that's what I needed to learn. Every one of these lessons and more I owe to swimming. And for those you don't know, I'll be very far away next year. And during an interview process for where I'll be next year, they asked me, how are you going to deal with the loneliness after having so many teammates surrounding you all of your life? And I had a decent, whatever answer in the moment, up for the challenge or something. But, I don't really know how to answer it. The people in this room mean so much to me, and I know I will miss you, and I know that there'll be moments where I feel lost and a hole in my life. But I also know now, and thank you to the alumni coming back, that I will always be able to treasure this experience all of my life, and that the experience never really goes away. So I guess, reflecting back onto 2 years ago when I began drafting this speech, I guess I realized that swimming doesn't have to be about just the numbers or even the tiny etches in a ring. There are moments, to be sure, when we get stuck in our tiny skull-sized kingdoms. But as college women, we have the opportunity to make swimming what we want and enjoy it in the way that we want. So as I think about leaving the yard behind me, there are 2 lingering thoughts. 1, how humbling this experience has been. And 2, how lucky I have been to be able to take part in it. And I wrote all of this down before winning the Ivy League championships, or thought about it before winning the Ivy League championships, and it was never really about the win, but man, it's a sure good way to retire. So thank you all for a wonderful journey, and I'm so excited for all of your adventures ahead.